Yeah, dog. Welcome to Wreck to Riches. My name is Thomas G. Don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button, drop a comment, and always remember I'm not a financial advisor, for damn sure not a professional. And don't ever allow a social media influencer on any social media platform out there to influence you when it comes to cryptocurrency, because you could get wrecked, lose it all. You got to do research. So today's video, my ultimate HEX gamble. All right. I don't even want to call it an investment. I just got to be 100% real with you. I don't feel like I'm speculating. I don't feel like I think I know what I'm talking about. I don't look at charts and say this is my analysis and this is what's going to happen. I'm flat out gambling on this scenario and hoping it plays out. I'm not falling back on what I've been saying for several months, that Pulse, like HEX on Pulsechain and HEX from Ethereum, but bridged over to Pulsechain, so EHEX and PHEX will meet at parity and then rise together. I've always said that. It just never made sense for them to reach parity at a much higher price, which means in order for them to meet parity, where HEX right now, it's about 0.0045, and then you got EHEX, which is about 0.001213. It would make sense to me with the recent news that the SEC is not dismissing. Oh no, they're not dismissing the case against Pulsechain, the sacrifice, HEX, Richard Hart, none of that. And they're responding back, and it looks like they're going the distance. Richard Hart has until the 22nd of August to respond back to their response, where ultimately this is going to end up in front of a judge, right? And I think that HEX will continue to bleed out. And the way I am betting, here's where I place my bet and why I'm placing my bet that they'll reach parity at a certain price point. I think they'll reach parity around 0.0035. So PHEX will have to drop a little bit more from 0.0045. And then EHEX will have to a little bit over a 2x. It'll go from 0.0013 to the 0.0035, where they'll meet at, and I think that's where they'll be bonded and go up together. But the scenario in my brain that I'm betting on is this happening because the sentiment's going to be like Pulsechain is in a sad spot. There would have been mass euphoria and like mass FOMO if the SEC's like, hey man, we're throwing in the towel. We're going to dismiss this and move on. But they're clearly not. They're going to go to the distance. This will end up in front of a judge. So that right there is enough for the ecosystem to bleed out more, but HEX as well, because people have been in HEX for going on 5 years now. HEX was all-time highs above 50 cents. And now bridged over, and the version that we call EHEX is now 0.0013. And I feel like it can only go up a little bit more from here and then meet in the middle with PHEX. And there's going to be people, because of the events that are going on in the sentiment, early end staking, taking the penalty. Also, when their tokens are done staking, right? When the tokens are done staking, man, I feel I should have drank that coffee. Huge sell-offs when the tokens are done staking as well. Okay? So I think they're going to continue to dump their tokens. Early end stake, sell. Stakes end, sell. And that's where EHEX and PHEX will meet, in the middle, 0.0035. And I'm going to keep buying both. And I'm going to bet that we're going to have an awful rest of the summer. I'm going to bet that when Ethereum starts to go up, right? Ethereum, Pulsechain is a leverage play on Ethereum at this point. So since it's a leverage play on Ethereum, I don't think Richard Heart's going to bridge over and take profits into at least 2 to 3x. So anywhere in between a 2x, people are going to start to sell off their HEX and sell off the Pulsechain ecosystem to chase the run, the bull run that's going to happen due to the Ethereum ETFs. They're going to start bridging out and going onto Ethereum, buying Ethereum. And those who wait for Richard to hit the 2 or 3x marks with the sacrifice funds of the 180,000 Ethereum that was purchased at about 3,800, they will see tons of new capital come in, and it will go into HEX, EHEX, Pulsechain, and Inc. 5 tokens, split 5 ways. And it will be used to bond, and once those 2 tokens, EHEX and PHEX, have reached parity at a much lower price, it makes sense to bond them and bring them up together. And from that point, at a 0.0035, Richard can go back and say, hey, we went up 100x on EHEX and PHEX from the bottom. A 10x would bring you to roughly 3 cents. 100x would bring you to 30 cents, which 30 cents would be an all-time high for PHEX, because remember, PHEX is not even, a year old, right, at the snapshot, and then once Pulsechain went live, it's never hit an all-time high of 55 cents. That was the original HEX. So although it wouldn't be an all-time high for EHEX, which was 50 cents plus, even hitting 30 cents from its bottom, right, would be 100x plus buying the dip. And the glory could still be shared for those who did buy EHEX at the bottom, who did buy PHEX at the bottom, and even ultimately bought Pulse and PulseX and Inc. on these dips. Everything's measured from the bottom. Everything is measured from the bottom in crypto. So 100x gains is very easy with not that much capital as far as what would have to be put in to bring us to 100x if Richard Heart hits a 2 or 3x on his ETH that he bought the sacrifice funds. So you got to think the numbers get even greater. 3x from the price of Ethereum today, from the price he bought at. It's not going to take, it's billions of dollars he'd be able to bridge over. It's not going to take a lot of money for 2 tokens like PHEX and EHEX that met at parity at 0.0035 to 200x at 60 cent mark, which would mean an all-time high for the original HEX, EHEX, above the 50-55 cent range and go to 60 cents, and then also new all-time highs on PHEX, which would be 200x from the bottom, roughly, a little under that. So I do think the bottom will be about 0.0035. That's my gamble. I'm not looking at charts. That's where I'm thinking that they meet up, and where it would make sense to start to begin to bond them together for them to rise together and be the same price. So I'm going to bet on that. The majority of my capital that I earn in profit is going to be buying EHEX and HEX. Everything that I can possibly exhaust into that's going to go into buying that and staking it so I can't touch it. Because I want to see this happen. I want to see this play out. When the Ethereum ETFs hit and the dust settles, the sell-offs happen, and then the institutional money comes in, and then we go into a bull market. If we have a $12,000 to $15,000 Ethereum and Richard can hold out between those price points of 12 to 15 and be in 3x plus profits, man, it's a lot of capital to come and pour into Pulsechain with the small amount of LP that's in HEX, it would just easily be able to skyrocket, but then it's bonded to HEX. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's so crazy what the numbers can be from the absolute bottoms, though. Not from what you purchased with sacrifice funds. Not your SAC price. From SAC price, you're looking at 8 to 10x. But from the bottom, it's a much larger number. Dollar cost averaging from SAC price is something I've been doing. And, that's my gamble. Not an investment, not a speculation, a gamble. If I lose on this bet, it blows up in my face, and I lose a lot of money, and I was flat out wrong. And then wrecked. Super wrecked. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep dollar cost averaging, even if they were to meet lower, 0.0025, when I buy all the way down, and bet that they will reach parity at some point lower from this price point, and I'll make life-changing gains. Or I'll make the worst life-changing for the worst decision I have made in my crypto career. And that will change my life in a negative way. So it's a huge gamble. But I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit. So let's see. Till next time, we'll do it again. Yeah, dog.